when we mean trafficking, we mean blah, 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 the UN definition of trafficking. And so I think based under that, that would be how they would litigate that kind of case.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, you mentioned that for example, with the International Court of Justice, if the United States wants to bring a court with China, I don't know if China is a member of the state, but you said the United States doesn't have to follow through. So, I mean, in any scenario, what can be done to ensure that international law is not taken so much as a joke, but seriously? Is there anything that can be done, do you think?
Right, and I think that's has a lot to do, I don't know if you've heard this term in the media, but the international community. And what that means is the media gets out, we have the internet, things spread, go viral, in seconds. So when you have, like Claudia was saying, when you have pressure from the international community, when you have the entire Western Hemisphere, you have like trade partners with the U.S., so you have Canada and Mexico. Canada and Mexico do get together and they do gang up on the U.S. because, especially when they want to get something done and the U.S. is saying, no, we don't really want to do this, they'll say, fine, we'll get together, and now we have a little bit more leverage to say, you should really do this, because if not, we're going to do X, Y, or Z, or we won't do X, Y, or Z. And I think that goes with the whole international community. So if it was something really egregious, I think the whole world would be against the U.S. But currently on their docket, they have a lot of stuff from the former Yugoslavia Republic, and they have some cases against Rwanda, and so they're not necessarily China versus the U.S. But I think if it were to go there, I feel like there's such polar opposites in the world that it might be split on how the world feels about the U.S. taking a case against China. And I think that would be a really interesting international public relations, public policy topic to talk about. But I'd be happy to talk about it.
Thanks. Another question. Going back to trafficking, is that a universal problem? So if a nation catches another nation doing illegal trafficking, do they have jurisdiction over that?
Well, I guess I don't understand how a nation would catch a nation. What can you elaborate on that?
Right, like, or just theoretically, if I don't know, if somebody from the United States goes out to Canada or China or somewhere else other than the United States, and they catch that someone's practicing illegal trafficking, can the United States have jurisdiction over that?
Oh, I see. So over the sex trafficker.
Right.
That's a good question. That would have a lot to do with international law, and I think the extradition laws on that would say no, because they're a citizen of another country, mm-hmm. And so especially since that's a criminal offense, and there's no international law, you don't violate the international law. It'd still be, since every country has their own laws, they would still be violating their country's laws, but that doesn't mean that we can't provide her a lawyer in that country. So she would have U.S. representation. More than likely what would happen, because it'd be faster, the U.S. would say, you have one of our citizens, and it would be just cleared up in the background, and that guy would probably end up in jail. There probably wouldn't be a trial, and the U.S. would just take care of it, or any country would take care of it. But it gets really hairy when it comes to that.
Thank you.
I was just directly to that. It just surprised me that you were talking about Thailand, and yes. So the world knows what's going on there, and there can be nothing done. I mean, we can't actually do something about it since we know that it's going on, because they're not. If they were a member state of the United Nations, then that couldn't happen. But since they're not, is that?
They are a member state.
Oh, Thailand is? Oh.
Mm-hmm. The international community can only do so much the U.S. can't go. Well, one, the U.S. isn't the place of the world, and the U.S. and we can't. We have to realize that we can't put out every fire in the world. That'd be nice, but we can't. That's not our job. That's the UN's job. And all we can do as countries is put pressure on Thailand. But Thailand's having their own inner turmoil. They had a lot of riots. I think it was last year. People were taken to the streets. And, I mean, there's only so much you can do if a country is, at unrest. They're on their own. But as for, I think the most you could do is have the presidents of the different member states go over there and say, you need to stop this. You need to do this. You need to take a harsher stance. So I think that would be the more diplomatic route to take, and I think the most effective besides UN sanctions, and that's one of the other things UN does, is they put sanctions on a country and say, all the member states are going to stop trading with you, or we're going to stop trading this or that or the other. But, it just really depends on who's in charge over there, because if you have a president who says, I don't care if you stop trading food with me, then that hurts their people. And then you have the humanitarian side of the UN saying, but your people are starving, so we're going to go in there. So it's like, it's this balance. It's a really fine tightrope that you have to walk.
Can I make a comment? If you want to take a really big picture again and say, what can we do? Were you aware of the statistics about Thailand? To the extent that we see, I mean, I've always known about the prostitution in Thailand, but I was not aware of the human trafficking. Okay. Yeah. So, can you imagine, has anybody been to Thailand? Okay. Well, it had, up until 2 years ago, a very vibrant tourism trade. Okay. Can you imagine if that type of news and those images became more and more in the social media viral? Would you plan your next vacation to Thailand knowing that if you were traveling with young children, they could possibly, if for an instant your eye was off them, they could be taken? I would think you would decide, there are lots of other countries to visit. So it comes back to commerce. Why are these people doing it? Well, because they can't make money. There are no other means for them to make money. So we go back to education as part of the Millennial Development Goals, education and maternal health. When you talk about the eradication of AIDS and STDs, we look at Thailand and we look at the momentum that would come if anybody left Thailand and then was taken to another country and was part of the sex, trade and trafficking here. We are so interconnected when it comes to health issues that can cost us money, when it comes to where we can spend our tourist dollars. So I think if we are advocates and we make these things known, and social media is a wonderful medium to do this, I think we can have an impact because, as we said, we can't force another country to do something. They can sign on and say they're going to do something, but it comes to the world community to band together and say, what can we do to put pressure on it? So, that's one way.
Thank you, Ivana. I had been aware of the situation in Thailand. I'd given reports through my various class venues about Thailand and especially in human trafficking. One of the things that we did find that there were Europeans who did go on family vacations there and had children go missing. So that created quite a stir all over Europe. Not so much here because it was European-based, European families. So it is out there. It didn't quite go as viral as we would have hoped, but again, we can pick that up.